Hi creative friends, this is Soraya and thank you so much for being here. So before I dive into this video, I just want to start off by saying that I am really sorry, but once again, I do not have my microphone turned on because my studio is just a raging mess. It's a work in progress. I'm moving things around, opening boxes, etc. And my charger for my microphone has disappeared into thin air. So I'm really going to make a concerted effort to speak louder, and I apologize for the inconvenience. Honestly, I know it's really difficult when you can't hear me properly, and then when you have to turn the volume up and then the commercials come on, and then it's like, oh my god, the commercials are so loud. So I'm really going to do my best to speak loudly throughout the video. The second thing I wanted to just show you guys is that since I last worked on my painting, my exercise, I have done a couple of more spreads. So I just wanted to show you, and unfortunately my camera is set up and this is a large pad, so I can't really move the camera up the way it's set up, and this I'm just gonna have to show you in pieces. But basically I was exploring black, white, and an alizarin crimson, and I worked outside so I could like spray and do all sorts of crazy stuff. Now I have to write notes and remind myself that, hey, this is newsprint, so if I'm using inks and sprays and paints and whatever, this paper is not really meant for that. It can take it a little bit, but it's going to start to tear, and this is more for dry media. But I get into the flow and I don't even think about it, and I'm like, I get like spray happy, and I'm like, oh my goodness, and I'll spray everything. But it is what it is. So I'm really exploring like just using like black and white. So I'm using titanium white, and I'm using my chalk paint and ink, and you can use like Payne's gray or lamp black, or there's so many different blacks. So basically for the exercise that I did, that I'm still doing, it's a work in progress, I'm going to show you guys in a minute, I was just using black and white. But for this over here, I started kind of branching out just a little bit. And I think that this is Prussian blue. I could be wrong. And I used a lot of water. I sprayed it because I was working outside. And this lady was just screaming to me like she wanted to be red. So I was like, okay, I need to make her red. So here we are. So I'm just kind of trying to explore like a more neutral kind of a palette. So I know in my last video I said like for all 50 of these pages I was gonna work in monochromatic. I was kind of leaning towards that way, but now I think I'm gonna add like maybe one color. So before I dive in here, I just wanted to, let me just see if I can position this. Oh my goodness, this is gonna be a bit awkward. Okay, we'll just try to work with what I have here. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to define monochromatic. So basically when we talk about monochromatic, and even in my last video I said, oh, this is monochromatic. I think I even named the video that, and I'm just using titanium white and a black, right? That is not really monochromatic. We call it monochromatic, but it's actually achromatic, because in terms of hues, which is what we call color, like color is, what we call color is not really color, it's a hue. So if I say, I really love this color orange, I'm actually incorrect. That's not, artistically speaking, that's not the correct way to identify this. This is a hue, and a hue encompasses like different aspects. Okay, so I already talked about that in another video, and I actually wrote about it in where I can put photographs and write stuff on my YouTube channel, so I'm not going to go into it right here. But we call this, generally we say, oh, it's monochromatic, black and white, that's monochromatic, but it's really not, because these are not considered hues. These are considered like values that are going to, you're going to take a hue or a color, what we call color, we're going to take a hue, and now we can lighten it or we can darken it with either one of these black and whites, right? So if I'm using these two, it's actually achromatic, but just say I'm using these three colors, right? This is actually monochromatic, because this is the color, and then I'm using this to either darken it or this to lighten it. right? So these three together is monochromatic, and I can make a painting out of it. And I can also do a monochromatic painting in another way. Like I can use ultramarine blue, indigo blue, Prussian blue, you know, some kind of a light blue. Like I can just use all of these like blues, and that would also be monochromatic, right? So I hope I've explained myself. So even though I'm calling this monochromatic, it's actually more achromatic. So I don't want to be too confusing, you guys. Like, just, you know, there's a lot to learn about. Let me see how I can position this. Oh my goodness. This is so... I don't know if I'm going to be able to work like this, you guys. The way the camera is positioned and my head, it's just... Okay, there we go. We're just going to have to do the best here. Okay, so while I work on this spread, I'm going to be talking about why it's so important to work in an achromatic or a monochromatic exercise when we are learning, like when we're, you know, strengthening our art, right? So in my last video, I talked about the importance of doing exercises. Exercises are so important, you guys. I cannot stress that enough. They may not seem interesting, or, I mean, sometimes it's kind of like, I know I've taken classes on color and color theory, and some of the exercises, they were not fun at all. Like, especially when it's like, you know, like say an achromatic, monochromatic kind of a thing going on. And I'm like, oh my God, I really, after you do the, you know, 20th exercise, you're like, oh my God, this is not fun, right? It's not meant to be fun. It's meant to be a teaching valuable tool, right? But anyways, as I figure out what I want to do here, let me see here. I want some dry media. So I'm gonna grab my, and I really want to color, you guys. Like, I really want this red, like so badly, or even my blues, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna just hold myself back, okay? I'm really not going to. I'm gonna stick to this achromatic. And actually, you know, I should probably go back and retitle my video. Instead of monochromatic, I should put monochromatic / achromatic. But, you know, anyways, let me see here what I want to do. Okay, while I work on this, I am going to talk about the value of doing an achromatic / monochromatic exercise, right? So the first thing is, it is going to strengthen our value recognition, our use, our knowledge of values, and then our use of values. Those are two separate things, right? Because you can have the knowledge, but then to know how to use it is a completely separate thing. And let me explain, okay? So when you're just using your two colors, right? Your achromatic, monochromatic, whatever you want to call it, whether I'm just using these two colors, whether I'm using, you know, only these three colors, you are going to have to be focused on the lightness and the darkness of whatever you're painting, and even in an abstract way, right? The thing is, you guys, that color as an element is so... I'm going to rip this out, you guys, and I'm just going to put it like so, because it's just much more easier for me to work and move it on the page so that I can like position it for the camera. Okay, that's a lot better. So anyways, what I was saying is that color as an element can really dominate a spread, right? Color is so powerful. It's got symbolic meaning. It encompasses like your cultural it has cultural connotations. It's got symbolism, it's got memories, it's got so much emotion is attached to color, okay, that it can overwhelm a painting, and it can kind of be a crutch in a sense, right? Because when you just are focused on like, okay, I'm just using black and white, or, you know, I could just be using this orange, black and white. When you have such a limited range, you're going to be forced to not only increase your knowledge of values, to learn how to recognize the values, and then you are going to be pretty much forced to know how to use those values as well, right? So that's number one. And values, you guys, is super, super important. On my shorts yesterday and even on my Instagram, I posted a short of like where I am building a face and I'm, you know, really going to town with the colors. But it's part of my 100-day project, and I can guarantee you that the reason why I'm able to do that, to really lean in with freedom and confidence in my colors, is because I have done so many of those 100-day projects where I just focused on the values, right? I must have done like, I don't know, like 30, 40, 50, where I just limited my color palette. I'm still using like burnt sienna and I'm still using colors, but I'm leaning heavily on my values, right? Because that was what I set my intention for. When you get really good at, you know, learning how to identify your values, increasing your knowledge of values, your use of values, you have more freedom when it comes to the other elements. So that's number one, okay? Number two, you're going to lean more heavily onto other elements in your art, like texture, mark making, etc. Like I said, color is such a huge part of your art elements. Like it really dominates without even meaning to, right? When you go and look at a piece of art, like, yeah, color is, I mean, you know, even a painting, say by Rembrandt, who, you know, he was a master of light, and it looks like, oh, he didn't use that many colors. I visited his studio and I looked at the colors. He used so many different colors, like craziness. So any kind of art, it's going to use a lot of colors. Color is a very important element of art, right? So when you take that away, or when you limit it severely, you are going to have to depend on your other elements. And that is going to improve your texture, your mark making, etc. Now, the other thing about using monochrome, you guys, is it does have an emotional component to it. Even though color does have a lot of emotion tied to it, when you see like black and white, for instance, or even just a monochromatic, like say if I use this orange and then I use black and white, it has like instant drama. There's something about it that's just going to pull you in an emotional sense. It's going to be more expressive. It's going to be moody. It's going to be dramatic. It's going to be, it's just really, there's something about it that just sweeps all your emotions up and you're just like, whoa, right? So it just instantly gives you that like moodiness, that drama, that, you know, sense of expression. Another reason is it is going to enhance your problem solving skills, because now you're going to have to develop inventive ways of conveying form, space, etc. You can't rely on color. You're going to have to rely on, you know, your black and white, right? You're gonna have to go, oh, you know, yeah, I'm gonna have to get like a kind of a gray going here. I can't reach for my yellow. I can't reach for my red. So your tones now are having to do the work of what color would do. And then you're gonna have to look at things in new ways. You're gonna have to, you know, become adept at maybe combining a couple of different things, you know, so your problem solving skills, and then you become very creative too, because you're like, oh, I can't use that like I always do. It just it forces you to think outside the box, right? So those are some of the main reasons. Oh, the other reason is it's going to improve your composition. It's going to improve all your other art elements. So, you know, composition, texture, mark making, values, tones, all of those things. When you take color out of the picture, you're just going to have to strengthen everything else, right? Because everything else now has to do double time. It's got to work harder. So there are plenty of great reasons to work with one color, just, you know, a hue. So I think for the rest of my exercises in this newsprint, I am gonna work with one hue or color, and then I'm gonna add the black and white, and I'm gonna see what happens. You know, just kind of experiment. Now, one of the things about newsprint, you guys, like I mentioned, is like you do have to, and see, even like while I'm talking now, I am putting a lot of like paint and water and whatever, and it's really not, I mean, it's taking it okay, but you know, it's also going to rip. I have had pages rip, which I don't care. I mean, the newsprint is like, you know, it's a very user-friendly, portable, easy, it's cheap, it's, you know, and it's meant for dry media. So if it rips, it rips. I don't, you know, it's not a big deal to me, right? But I just wanted to warn you guys, like I'm using wet media, but yeah, it's meant for dry media. So I'm just gonna get like my, let me see, is this, yeah, that's a Stabilo. It's a Stabilo here, and now what do I want to do over here? I've been really feeling the urge, you guys, to make lots of like marks and scribbles, and I think it's so in Connie Solera's reset class, she has an adage that I've now added to my Connie-isms, and she says you don't have to like it, you just have to paint it. And I'm kind of feeling that way. Like I'm feeling like, hey, I just want to get all this stuff out. Like I want to get these marks out. Like it doesn't have to mean anything, like, you know, and I'm making videos on it. I post my stuff online, but like if you're doing it, you guys, and there's plenty of stuff I make that I don't post online, by the way. I don't post everything online, but my point is you don't have to post it online at all. And even if you do post online, you don't have to post everything online, or you can, you know, it's a process. It's not like, oh, it's a finished piece of work and blah, 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 right? You know, and anyways, it doesn't matter if somebody, you know, is gonna critique it or whatever. So I'm just feeling more and more like I just want to get stuff out. Like I just, you know, it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be this big dramatic thing, you know. It can be like a lady can have 3 eyes, you know, and if she wants to be red like my other lady I showed you guys, like, okay, she's gonna be red. That's what she wants to be, you know. She's a red lady. You know. So yeah, I'm kind of, that's where I'm heading, and that's kind of where I'm leaning, and it's so freeing, you guys. Oh my god, like honestly, it's just like, oh, it doesn't have to make sense, you know. It just has to feel right to you, right? And this lady, she wants to have lines down her face, you know, for whatever reason. She feels like she's in jail. She feels she's imprisoned, even in her own mind. Maybe she's not imprisoned in reality, but in her own mind, she feels like she's imprisoned. So yeah, that's the way it is. And that's kind of where I'm heading. And I think with newsprint, it really allows me to kind of explore these aspects. And when what I've noticed is when I'm working in my newsprint, I'm really talking to myself out loud a lot. And I'm like making up all these stories. Like I just said, like, oh, you know, she's like blah, blah, blah. And I'll just be talking to myself. And it gives me so much of information that I can then go and write in my studio log, or even just to have an actual conversation with my art, like just in real time, like just talk to my art and go, hey, well, like, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And this is a very new way of me working, because generally I prefer to write things down. But for some reason, me working on newsprint is just opening up this whole different way of me like talking to my painting like directly. So that's like very new to me, and I'm kind of digging it, right? And I notice that my work is even getting to be a little bit different, right? So anyways, you guys, if you watched all the way to the end, thank you so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.